Guys, this is Karen with Blue Rooster Farm, and today we are working on this quilt block right here. Now earlier we did a video that made snowflake block number 1, and so we made this one together right here. And then another video, snowflake block number 2, we made, and it is right here. Now if you watched this video, you probably noticed I had one of my corners backwards, and it is now fixed. I did not see that until I was editing my video, and so I just left it all in there because I thought you guys need to see that I make mistakes all the time, and it's okay. We all make mistakes, and it's easy to take that out. I just took this one out, turned it around, and it's back in. So I left it in for you to see. I thought it was quite funny since I was talking about how you really needed to watch your blocks and making sure your placement and everything was in order. And as I was saying that, mine was not in order. So we have our blocks for the snowflakes. In this video, we're going to be finishing up this whole block. So we'll be adding the sashing around here as well. But our main focus is this block right here. And this is the snowman portion of this block. And it is a fun one to make. Now I do have all of my pieces cut, and I've got them on this board right here. So I do have letter tiles that I am sharing, and I've used these for my 2 snowflake blocks. And so this is in the first video, I believe it was this one right here, episode 1 of Snowflake Block 1. And if you want this, you can go to that video, and I'll have these videos linked in the description box. But you can just print this out, put them on your fabric cuts, and then throw them away after you're finished. Or if you do like me, I put it on cardstock, laminate them, and they become really nice, and they got a little reflection because they're laminated. They become really nice tiles that I can use for a long time. And so that's what I have. But I had just received these out of a Sew Sampler box, and these are the, I guess it's Sew Emma with Fat Quarter Shop alphabetties, but they are on the clips. And so I just received those, and I wanted to give those a try. So I used those for this one, and it coordinated nicely since it has the blues in it too. But I have been using these, and I will be using those for when I make my other blocks. But I needed to give these a try, and I wanted to let you know how I liked them. And I do really like them. And I have had a viewer that suggested that they do have these, I guess, clips at Amazon, and I haven't checked it out yet. But if that's the case, I may have to get some and use them for mine. I noticed also these have a little hole in the back, so I guess you could, you know, even hold them up on a wall or something if you needed to put, you know, have more space and have a little nail or something where you had all of your pieces hanging, or a pin. So I didn't notice that until just now. So I'm using these today, but these tiles that I have are a free download. Now another thing that you will find in our description box below is this right here, and this is the Snowman quilt block pattern. And as you can see, I have the fabric cuts over here, and then I have a layout over here. So that will help you be able to place these blocks in the right spot. I will also do this tutorial so that you can see how we do these blocks and which order we put them in. Now, if you are somebody who can look at this and use these cuts and put it together, that's wonderful. But I know most people need to watch the video. I do not write out my directions because I am not a pattern writer and I don't have time to do that. This right here takes a lot of time in itself, and I find that if I can just make this for you, this should be enough, because otherwise I wouldn't be making these patterns. It would be too much work. So what we're going to do is I've got all my cut sizes right here, and they are here. I have the different, let's see if I can get better lighting here. So I have the different fabric cuts. I have hat fabric, scarf fabric, coat fabric, snowman body fabric, shoe fabric, and background fabric. And for each fabric, I have the cut sizes that you need, how many you need with them, and the letter that I have over here, and the tile that you would put on your fabric cuts. So everything's laid out right here. If you get all of your pieces cut like I have, turn the video on, watch as we sew. You can take notes on this, whatever you want, and we can make this really easily. This block right here is large pieces. It doesn't have anything difficult about it. Even if you are a beginning sewer, if you're confident and you don't mind things not being perfect, you can do this. So let's get started. Oh, and before we get started, I do want to share that this pattern, we're making this one big block. It's 22 inches square. It can be put together with more of them, and we can make a quilt with it just like this. This is 58 by 69, and it is just this block all put together, no sashing in between. Of course, you could do sashing if you want to make it larger. I do have some borders. I have a small border and then a dark border and then a light border just to kind of round it off. But of course you don't need to have that, or you could have just a light border extending it out further. So this is just a very basic layout for a quilt if you would like to turn this block into a quilt. If you did, you would only need 8 of these blocks and it would be easy to put together. I am thinking of, if I don't make a quilt, I'm thinking I might do a bed runner, something at the bottom of the bed, and I will have to figure out how many blocks I need to go across. I think that would be really cute. So that's what I'm thinking I'm going to do. Okay, before we start sewing, I just want to show you this layout and my thinking on how to put this together. And we are going to be putting this together in sections and then sewing all of those sections together. So when I look at this, I see that we have this top section right here that we can piece together. Then we have this middle section, its body, that we can piece together. And then down here. So there's 3 main sections. Now we can also divide this, we'll take off those U's, and divide this into this section too. So my thought is, I am going, and in fact, I'm going to wait till the end to add R as well, or we'll see when I add R. But I am going to start here with the head, and I'm going to start right in the middle, and I'm going to work my way out. I'll do the head, and then I'll do the top part of the hat, the bottom of the scarf right here. Then I'll add these sides and these sides. It's the same thing here. I'll start right here in the middle. I'll make each of these sections, and then I will take this section, add it, make these sections, add them, and then put them with that in, and so forth. So it's just building it so that you can sew straight lines and not have to do the split seams. So we're going to start right here with L, and I need B and I need C's. I need 2 B's and 2 C's. There's a lot of B's and there's probably more than 2 C's. Maybe not, but there are several B's, and so I just need 2 B's and 2 C's. Okay, so I have my L These are my B's and these are my C's. And so if you have directional fabric, be sure you're thinking of that when you're cutting and then when you're laying it out. I could have this fabric going this way or this way, it really wouldn't matter, but I'm going to have it this way. That's the way I cut it, and that's the way it needs to be laid now. So I'm going to have it long ways across. I'm going to take my C squares, which is the scarf fabric, and I'm going to put them in the bottom corners just like that. And then I'm going to take the hat fabric B and put them in the top corners just like that. Then if you have seam tape on your machine's bed, you don't need to draw vertical lines or diagonal lines on your blocks. If you don't have seam tape, you are going to need to take a pen, like a friction pen or a lead pencil, something that won't bleed into your fabric or show up in the seam line, and draw diagonal lines from corner to corner across those corners. And we're going to do the same thing over here. Now I do have seam tape on the bed of my machine, so I don't need to do this. I'm just going to show you this, and in the next part of the videos I will remind you that that's the way you can do it, but I will probably just be doing on my machine using the seam tape. Okay, so once you have it like that, you can either pin these down, or you can put a bit of glue, just washable school glue. I just used the stick. Put a bit in the corners, because these corners are going to be cut off and just thrown away. And this will hold your block in place. Now if you're wanting to use these outside corners, you could use pins. Sometimes the bigger squares, I like to keep the outside corners. I'll do another stitch and I'll have half square triangles, but these are still quite small. So I'm going to go to my sewing machine and I'm going to stitch directly on this line. And when I do it on one big piece like this, I just start one place, sew, pick up my presser foot, turn, sew, pick up my presser foot, sew, pick up my presser foot, and so forth, so I don't have to cut the thread. And that's what I'm going to do. So I just need to cut the threads in between where I picked up my presser foot and pulled a little thread out. And then what I need to do is I need to flip these corners back to see if they cover up. And this one is just a little shy, but it's fine. It's within a 1/4 inch. This one's fine. That one's fine. And that one's fine. So what I'm going to do is I am going to go and trim all of these corners a 1/4 inch away from that seam line. And then I'm going to take this to my iron and press. Now I am going to go ahead and press all of the seams toward the corners. I will be changing the direction on these other bees that when we snowball tea here, so that they will nest. So I'll bring you back after I get this all pressed. And there we have the face all snowballed, and we are ready to add some more pieces. Let's see. I think we're going to go ahead and add piece A. That's an easy piece to add. It is just one long rectangle, no piecing on that one. Right sides together, and make sure you have the hat portion up, not the scarf portion. And we can pin the ends together just to make sure that we have all of the edges meeting. And then we can take this to the sewing machine and sew a 1/4 inch away from this raw edge. Now, if you happen to have one side that is a little looser, that will go toward your feed dogs. And there we have the top of the hat on, and I just press toward the hat. So now we've got this piece and this piece done. Let's go ahead and get this piece right here. We need the scarf fabric D, and we need G. So we are just going to put G onto the end like this. Now we want this to be folded back like this, so our line is going to be right here. So we are going to put a line, or if you just have one already on your sewing machine bed, just follow that. And I am going to put a little bit of glue. This size is easy enough to pin, but if you want to use glue on this size, you can do that too. And I'm going to go to my sewing machine and sew right on that line. And there's our piece. Just like earlier, I trimmed off a 1/4 inch away from the seam, pressed it back, and that piece goes right there. We can now match these two pieces up, and we can sew them together, and we can stitch a 1/4 inch away from this raw edge. And I will bring you right back. And there we have that piece I pressed toward the scarf. So we now have that complete section right here. So let's go ahead and move to this side. And this is a mirror image of this side. So we'll just be doing 2 blocks at the same time, only they're going to be flipped. So we need to start with S's and B's, so 2 of each. And let's just set that right there. Here are the S pieces, and we're going to put them long ways horizontally. And then these corners are going to be put in the bottom interior. So on this one, it's going to be the bottom right, and on this one, it's the bottom left, just like our picture right there, okay? And again, if you need to, you can put some lines on your blocks. If not, just take it over to your sewing machine. I'm just putting a little bit of glue to hold it down while I sew, and I'll bring you right back. Also right on that diagonal line. And I have pressed them toward the corners. So just like that, these are going to fit right here and right here, but we can't add them yet. Let's take and make this section here. We need T, a B, and an F, and we're making 2 of those blocks. Here is our T's, and again I am using a white on white. Actually, it's a white on a cream, and so I need to make sure that I have my right sides together when I'm putting these together. And let's see, I also need a B, and this looks like our last B's, and this one's going to go in the upper right hand corner, and this one's going to go in the upper left hand corner. And then we need an F. So our F is right here, and that is our jacket fabric. Now you're going to have an extra F left over that's going to be used in a minute, so be sure you put that back with the clip. These F's go in the bottom right hand corner and the bottom left hand corner. And remember, these background fabrics are tall, okay? Don't have them long, have them tall. Now we're going to do the same thing. On this one, I'm going to be saving my half square triangle from the outside. And so what I do when I want to save a half square triangle, and I usually save them if it's 2.5 inches or more. Sometimes if I'm making a big quilt that has a lot of 2-inch half square triangles left over, or 2-inch squares that I'm putting together, I might be putting all of those half square triangles, getting those sewn as well to put into something if there's going to be a lot of them. But I'm just going to go ahead and draw this line here, so I will show you here in just a second how I sew. And I am going to go ahead and put a little glue on each of these in the upper corners here. These, I'm just going to use my seam tape. If you don't have seam tape, draw a line diagonally, one going this way and one going this way. And on these, since I'm using these, I'm not going to put glue on them, so I'll just put a pin. Actually, I'll put the pin up here. Just want to put it out of my way when I sew. And so what I'm going to do is when I sew these, of course, I'm going to do this, and then I'll probably just feed this one in, and then I'll flip my fabric around and I'll feed this one in, and then I'll probably feed this one in, and then I'm going to go back, and toward the corner I'm going to do about a 1/2 inch away from this line a stitch right there. So I'm going to have the one on the line, and then a 1/2 inch away from that line another stitch. Same here, and it's on the outside part of your block. You don't want it inside, you want it on the outside. And I'll show you how you get your 1/2 square triangle out of that. So I'm taking this to my sewing machine and I'll be right back. Okay, so I've got them stitched, and I'm going to show you this. Bring you down. Okay, so here was my line. I stitched on my line, and then about a 1/2 inch away I made another stitch. And so what I'm going to do now is cut right between the two lines. And when I do that, I have my snowballed corner here, plus I have a 1/2 square triangle that I can trim up to be any size. And so I did it on both of them. So I'll do this one too. And there we go. So I'll just put these in a little 1/2 square triangle box that I keep all my 1/2 square triangles in, and someday I will make something really cute with it. So on these right here, we're going to go ahead, and on the big fabric or our coat fabric, we can go ahead and press those back and have the seams. Oh, let's see. Let's have the seams on these going toward the corner, because it looks like on our pattern here, we are going to be matching up with this seam, and this seam's going to be going this way, and so we'll make this one go this way. So, pull you back a little bit. This one is going to go toward the outside, but this one over here, flip it back and check, these need to go the opposite way. So this time the seam is going to go this way, because remember we were watching this one right here and we want this to match. We also are going to be matching this one, and this one should be folded correctly too. So I'm going to be making that one go in and this one go out. Let me go press those. All right, so let's lay this right here and right here. So these are now ready to sew in. Let's sew these two together. Again, right sides together, right sides together. And when we match these up, our seams are going this way and this way. So they are nesting very nicely. We just need to make sure our edges match as well. So I am going to nest those seams. That way we have a good intersection where those fabrics come together. And I'm going to also put a pin right here. And if one side is looser, that side will go toward your feed dogs. I'm going to do the same thing on this other fabric, and then I'll bring you back when they get all sewn up. Okay, I have these all sewn, and I ended up pressing down, and that way when it matches with this hat, this one's pressed up, those will nest there. Same thing here, press down on this seam and you'll have it matching. So because we've pressed these in certain ways, this one's up, this one's down, This one's up, this one's down. All of the seams that need to be matched on this are going to be nesting. And so all we need to do now is just match up those like this. And I will put a pin right here where those two seams match. And you can see that one seam is going this way and one is going this way. And then in those triangles right there, that seam should nest all the way down. And you can feel it with your fingers. And then just put a pin in it there. Put a pin at the edges like this. And a pin over here. And we can go ahead and do the other side too, since it won't interfere with sewing it. So let me just open this up for a second so you can see what we've got. This is going to go right here. Again, right sides together. We're matching that main seam across. They're going to nest. This seam's going this way. This one's going this way. Grab a pin. This is going to be nesting right here, and you should be able to feel that this is nesting all the way on that seam. And if that's the case, go ahead and put a pin in it. Then I need to pin my ends. And remember, if you have ends that are loose, those, or one side that's loose, that's the side that you will put toward your feed dogs. So now I am just going to go to my sewing machine and I am going to sew on this line and on this line 1/4 inch away from the edge. And there we have the head all finished. Now I did press this in. There is a lot of seams here, but they're spaced far enough apart. We are going to be matching this seam right here and this seam right here, and that one looks like it will go easily this direction. So I thought in order to get them to nest, we'll go both directions like that. So there we have that piece. Now I could go ahead and add the R, and we might as well go ahead and do that. Sometimes I just wait till the end, especially if I'm just starting a block and I'm not sure how tall I want it to be, but we know that we need to have this to be 22 inches tall. So we're just going to lay that right sides together, and I'll put some pins in it and sew 1/4 inch from the edge. And there we have him right there. So I've got my top edge on and I just pressed up because there's no seams up there. Now we are going to start working here in the middle, and this end piece is going to need all of these pieces to be completed before we attach it. So I'm going to go right here and I'm going to find E and I, and they are right here. And now if you notice, I do have a directional fabric with stripes here. When I cut this, you know, I don't want all of my stripes going the same direction because this scarf is wrapped. So I had these going across, this one going up and down, and this one's going across, just like if it were part of that scarf. So that is, if you use a stripe there, you want to kind of see how that's done. If they're all going the same direction, it doesn't really look like a scarf. It looks just like some kind of cow neck or something. I'm not sure. But I am going to be, I did watch carefully with the stripes. So be careful if you're using stripes on some of this fabric. Okay, so E and I go together just like this. They should match up. They are both the same height. We're just going to sew 1/4 inch away from that edge. Okay, so here is our piece. I ended up pressing it this direction, and so we've got it laid out just like that. That looks good. Now what we're going to do is, let me go ahead and lay in out for us, and we'll just kind of have these pieces kind of set the way they're supposed to. We have piece F right there. We need these two pieces right here we need to put together, and these are mirror images of each other. So we need J, M, and K's. So we should have 2 J's, and we've got those on the outside, 2 M's, and those go right there. And then we have 4 K's, and they're going to go in the corners. On this side, we're going to do the top and the bottom corner on the left, and on this side, we're doing the top and bottom corner on the right of that block, just like that. Okay, so now, just like we've done in the past, I'm going to go ahead and piece these corners on first. Just putting a little glue in their corner that we trim off. And remember, put your diagonal lines, drawing so that you are cutting off the corner from here to here, from here to here. And stitch right on those lines. So I'll bring you back. Whoops, did I get that one on there? It dried up too quick. Put that back on. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and sew on those diagonals, and I'll be right back. And there we have those blocks, and those are the hands. And I went ahead and pressed toward the corners. So we've got it looking like that. So now we just need to put right sides together here, right sides together here, and if you need to, go ahead and pin, so 1/4 inch away, so 1/4 inch away. And here we have those pieces. I just pressed toward the coat fabric out here on both sides. They're not going to match up with any other seams. So we've got this. Now I'm going to take these two and put them right sides together, and these two, put them right sides together, and we can pin and we can sew 1/4 inch away from that edge. And there we have those sewn together. I pressed up. There's not going to be anything matching these seams here, but there's less bulk if you press up. So let's see here. Now, let's go ahead and do this H and W on both sides. So we're going to work this way. And I'll tell you what, we've got these other H's too. These are H's as well. I'm just going to lay those down here and these H's here so we can kind of see what we have. But I do need my W's. And our W's are going to be going in the bottom left-hand corner of this section, the bottom right-hand corner of this H block, the top right-hand corner of this H block here, and the top left-hand corner of this H block here. Okay, so make sure you have those in the correct spot. Now I'm going to go ahead, we have one left, so make sure you keep that one. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to be working on these 4 blocks right here. Now we are going to be adding another square on these 2 corners in a minute, but let's go ahead and attach all of our W's. So again, we can use some glue or pins, whichever you like, and I do need to make sure that my right sides are together. I tell you, these tone on tones can sometimes be really difficult to tell which is the right side, and I have been known to have 1 or 2 flipped in a block, and really you don't notice it, but if you know it's there, it kind of bothers you. Okay, so all of these are going to have their corners sewn on. And so just like we've done before, hit that right there, we are just going to be sewing a straight line from corner to corner on those squares. And it's just taking that corner off. So this one will go here, this one will go here, and this one will go here. And I'll bring you right back. All right, to make this a little easier for you to cut or to put these triangles, you need 2 of these rectangles that have the triangles in the upper left-hand side, and 2 of them that have them in the upper right-hand side. Then when you go to press, I want you to press where one of these is going one direction and the other is going the other direction. It doesn't matter which one, but when you have these 2 matching ones, press them in opposite directions, okay? So then both of these are going to go on one side and both of these are going to go on one side. And let's see if we can get that to work. Yes, this is going to go like this, and this one is going to go like this. And again, these are all going to be, I guess, like this. So kind of a little bit of a mishmash right now. So when we have these 2 seams going in opposite directions, then we can have these 2 nesting and these 2 nesting, okay? We're not going to nest these 2 yet. We're going to pull these away, and we are going to go ahead and sew this one to this section right here, and this one to this section right here. And you might want to pin to make sure that they aren't going to get wonky on you, and you're going to be sewing a 1/4 inch away on those sides right there. And we have these blocks finished, and I just pressed it toward this outside piece right here, just like that. Now we need to add these bottom corners first. So we need the O's. And there's quite a few O's because we're going to be putting O's down here too. So just take what you need, and we need 4. So we're just going to put them in the bottom corners. And we're going to do the same thing. If you need to draw a line with a pencil or friction pen, go right ahead. If you are fine with using your sewing tape, that is great. We can put a little glue on it. Now, as you see, this fabric that I'm using for the body does have a different direction kind of, but it's splattered enough. It's kind of evenly spaced that I'm not worried about it always going in the right direction. I chose that and thought I'm not going to worry about it going in the right direction, because when you step away from it, you don't notice it. So I am not worried about the direction on these right here. So just putting a little bit of glue. And then off to the sewing machine to do diagonal stitches across all 4 blocks. And let me make sure I get these in the right spot here. This one goes here, matching up our background. This one goes here. And I pressed these all toward the corners. They're not going to match up with anything as far as needing to nest seams, so that was just the way they naturally fell. So now we can sew these 2 sets together. So this one will go, and this one should be pressed that way, it looks like. Yes. So this one's going to go here, and these should nest because we have them pressed in opposite directions. So be sure you nest this seam right here. And let's put a pin in it. And then that is the only one that's going to match. So we can do that. And I'll do the same thing with this one. These should be matching. And actually, I think I accidentally pressed this one in the wrong direction. Let me see. Oh yeah, I accidentally pressed both of these toward the angle, so I need to press one of these the opposite direction. It's going to be this one. So we'll do it that way. So remember to do what I say and not as I do. And that's the only thing that's going to match on that one. All right, so I'm just going to sew a 1/4 inch away from these edges. I'll be right back. And let's see if I've got these right now. There we have those blocks, and you can see if you nest them, those points should be nice and right on each other. And if they're not, don't worry about it. No one's going to notice. So now we have these 3 pieces that can be sewn together. So we can go right sides together like this, pin this, sew it, then right sides together, you'll open it up and sew this one to this edge, and then I'll bring you back. Okay, and there we have that piece, and I went ahead and pressed toward this center strip. There's no seams in there, so it pressed very nicely, and we can kind of see what he's looking like by scooting this one down. And isn't he looking cute? We can't sew these together just yet because we still have some sashing pieces right here for the background, but he's looking really cute. But we're going to get to that real quickly because the next block that we're putting on doesn't have any piecing. That is block P. And it's this one right here, and it's a rectangle, so make sure it matches up with your edges there. And this is so simple, just put them right sides together and sew a 1/4 inch away from that edge. All right, that was easy enough. Now we can add our U sashing pieces. And those are our background fabrics, and these are simple to add to. We're just going to put right sides together on both sides. Just like so. Oops, yep. And sew them a 1/4 inch away from the edge. And there we have those sides on, and it looks really good. So we have the top portion, now we have the middle portion, and all we have left is this bottom portion right here. And we have 2 Q's right here. We have a V on either side. And again, make sure right sides are up. We also have a W right here. We have an O right here. And then we have these O's on each of these corners. And so every corner except these outside corners right here is going to have a snowballed corner using the O piece. Okay, so the first thing I am going to do, I am going to do the shoes. And so I'm looking to see if this is looking okay, even though our flowers sometimes are going different directions. And really on this one, it looks to me like they are all going like this for some bizarre reason. The top one though goes up and down, which is fine. I don't really think you're going to notice anything there. But if I want to make the corners match there, because it does kind of keep that pattern going there, I can do that. And by flipping this fabric back, I can see what it looks like, and that would not be the right way. So I can go this way, and that is going the right direction. So that one's going to go there. And I think this is going to be the right direction. Yeah. So as long as they are going up and down, they should be going the right direction. Okay, so let's just do that. And then this one right here will stay going that way. So let's put a dot of glue on each one in that corner that gets cut off. And we are going to do our diagonal seams again, going from one corner of that square to the other, the opposite side. So again, if you need to draw yours on, go right ahead. So we're going to do this, this, and then this, this. And I'll be right back. Okay, so we have these two finished, and I just pressed up, and that works. We will just press down on these two. But let's go ahead and sew these two together just like that, and 1/4 inch from the edge. All right, and here is this piece. And I did press down because these are pressed up, and it'll just kind of get rid of some of that bulk. And these are going to be meeting, these seams are going to be meeting, but they're going to be meeting up here. So we'll be putting those together like that. But before we put those together, let's go ahead and do these. And again, I think I need to turn that one this way. Yep. And we can go ahead and put a little bit of glue. In that corner, and a bit of glue in that corner. And then we are going to sew from this corner to this corner, and this corner to this corner. And here are those pieces, and I just press them going this way, like that, and like that, so that these are going to meet just fine. So this is going this way, and this one's going this way, so when we put them together, they should nest very nicely, just like that. And we can put a pin right there where they're nesting. And we can put a pin over here and over here too if you'd like, and the same over here. They should nest. You should follow that seam all the way up and make sure it's nesting so it's not wonky. And I am going to sew 1/4 inch away from this edge and this edge. All right, we have that one and we have that one. And I did notice, but I'm not going to take it apart, that I think I switched these two triangles around. And so this one has the print going this way and this one has the print going this way. But again, I don't think you notice it, so I'm not worried about it. So then we're going to take this one and we are going to, let's start with this side right here. Now here is where we have a seam meeting, but it's not going to meet at the edge. It's going to be meeting 1/4 inch below that edge. So let me bring you down. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to poke my pin. Here is the seam on this piece right here, and I'm going to go about 1/4 inch down, just eyeball it, or you can measure it and put a line there too if you want. And then I'm going to flip it over, and as you can see, that comes right in where that seam is. So that is going to be a match. So I'm going to pin it right there, and I'm going to sew 1/4 inch away. And if you matched it up, they will come together right there, right at the point, and they did. Okay, so now I need to do the same thing with these two. So again, put this over here, and I'm going to go to the side that has the straight up and down seam because it's easier to do 1/4 inch on that. and about 1/4 inch would be about there. Turn it over, and I'm hitting it right there. Can you see that? There we go. It's right there. So put a pin in it, so 1/4 inch away. And there we have it. And again, it matched up real nicely right there. Okay. So now we have this piece all finished. And we are ready to sew all 3 pieces together. And it's going to be really cute. So right now this is going to be measuring, I believe it's 22.5 inches unfinished going this way. And let's see. It will be, I think, 11.5 inches going this way. We'll get it when we get it finished sewing, but I think it's 11.5 by 22.5, so it ends up being 22 by 11 once it's sewn into something. Yes, I'm pretty sure that's right, because I think the other one is going to be 11.5 as well. Okay, so then what we need to do is put these together, and the only seams we need to match here are this one here and this one over here. So what I'm going to do is, again, we've got an angled seam down here. We've got a straight up and down seam here. So I'm going to put my corners together right there, and I am going to put my pin about 1/4 inch below that edge, right on that seam, and it hit it just perfectly. Right there. Okay, so we can pin that, and then I'm going to do the same thing over here. Match up our corner, grab a pin, put it a 1/4 inch right on that seam, flip it over. Whoops, I hit that seam allowance. Let's go again. And I keep hitting the seam allowance. Hold on, we'll get it. I'll push that seam allowance down with my fingers. Quarter inch away, and there we go. We got it right there. Okay, so now I just want to put a pin in the middle, and it looks like this is a little bit looser over here. You can see when I hold it, it's a little looser. So I am going to pull this one to about the middle so that I have a little bit of loose fabric over here and a little bit of loose fabric over here. And we have such a big distance here that it's going to take that in really easily if I put that loose side toward my feed dogs, and you won't even notice that it took that fabric in. So I'm going to go ahead and sew 1/4 inch away from this edge. All right, and there we have that piece sewn on, and I just pressed up because there's very few seams up there. So let me back you up a little bit more, and we've got one more seam left, just about done. So exciting. Can't wait to see it finished. You know, it's always, you're not sure of what your fabrics are going to actually look like until you get them all sewn together. And so I am just as excited about getting this done as anybody watching to see what it's going to look like. So now we're going to be putting that right there, and I'm doing the same thing. I'm just putting, that's an angled seam, I'm putting it about 1/4 inch away, and it's getting right there. Now if there's any loose fabric, we can put that toward the feed dogs, but it looks like it's okay. I'll just put a pin in the middle to keep that straight up there. And one more seam 1/4 inch away. And there we have our snowman block all finished. Isn't he cute? Let me grab the other one here. Okay, so here is the block that we had for our practice block, and this one is finished. This one is finished. And this one is finished. Now all we have left, as you can see, is just some sashing squares for around these snowflakes. So let me get those cut and I will be right back. Okay, so I've gathered up all the things I need to finish this block off. I have my cut pieces for the sashing that's going to be going around these 2 blocks to finish off this portion of our snowman block. And I've also downloaded the cutting directions and the placement directions right here, and you'll find this in the description box as well. So we're going to start off by laying this out. And this block right here, if we look at the, let me get it right here. If we look at our pattern right here, is the one that's on the bottom, and this is the one that's on the top. And they're not directly on top of each other, they're skewed just a little bit. We then have B right here. We have C right here. And we have D. So there is the placement for the long strips. And so we are going to go to the sewing machine and I'm going to sew this piece right here, right sides together, 1/4 inch away from the edge. Same thing here, right sides together, 1/4 inch away from the edge. And right here, let's sew these together as well, 1/4 inch away from the edge. So when I come back, I'll have 2 strip sets like this. Okay, I think we've got them sewn. And so let's see if I've got them laid right. We've got this B here, and then our snowflake, and then we have C, snowflake, and D. There we go. And they should be the same distance or same width right there. Now we do have sashing to go in between. We have 3 units A, and these are going to go in between at the top and at the bottom. And I know you can't see that in this camera view. This is as far back as I can get. So let's just start up here. So this one is the piece for the top. I'm just going to put right sides together, and we are going to sew 1/4 inch away from that edge. Then I'm going to leave this one here, and I'm going to take the one on the bottom, and I'm going to sew 1/4 inch away from the edge, and then I'll bring you right back. And we have this top attached, and I have been pressing toward the sashing since they don't have any seams. It lays nice and flat, and they're not going to match up with anything, so you can press either way, but I find that it's nicer, it's flatter if you press toward the sashing. So let me see if I've got this laid out right, and it looks like I do. Check before you sew. And now we're going to sew this one right here, 1/4 inch away from the edge, and then I will take this one, I will open this up, place this one 1/4 inch, or place this one on here, and then sew it 1/4 inch away. And when I come back, this whole strip will be done. And there we have our snowflake section all completed. And I think it looks really nice. Now we have one more seam left, and that is to attach the snowman. And so we are going to be matching up 2 seams on this. One of them is at the bottom here, and it is this one right here. These are going to match, and right now I have them pressed so that they are going to nest. One's going this way, one's going that way. And then we have one more seam up here that's going to match. And it's this one right here. And I actually don't have it so that it's set up to nest, but I don't think I'm going to change it. No, because it's already sewn. So it's just going to have to be a little bulkier right there. So I am going to put these 2 right sides together. And then I am going to match up those 2 places that we said it will match up to. Just get those seams right on top of each other. This one here. And remember, this is quite a length, so if it's not exactly the right length for your two pieces, if they're not both the exact same size, it's okay. We can work with that. We can make them fit. So I always like to put pins at the very corners too, just to make sure my corners match up and my edge of my block isn't jagged, or real jagged, I guess I should say. It's usually jagged, but not real jagged. So get a pin there. And then I'm going to put a couple pins in the middle. Let me see how we did here. It looks to me like getting it placed there. I kind of think they're pretty much the same length. This back one may be a little bit looser, but I want to make sure I match up these edges so that not one of them is not hiding behind the other. We want to make sure our 1/4 inch seam allowance catches all of it. So I'm just making sure, and like I said, I think mine matched up pretty good, so I don't think it matters which one goes toward my feed dogs. If any of them, it would be the back one. And I am now ready to sew this a 1/4 inch away from the edge. And there we have it, all pieced together just like that. I think it looks really, really nice. I love the colors. Now, you can leave the face plain. I think that would look really good. In fact, I was having a hard time deciding what I wanted to do. Or we could add a nose, an applique nose, and either applique eyes or button eyes, or just the nose. And so let me pull out my other sample one. So on this one, I was kind of looking at it, trying to decide. And so I took Essex linen in kind of an orange. It's kind of a brownish orange. And I thought that color, if I were to use an orange, would look good with this style, since I have Essex linen here and Essex linen here and on the shoes down here. So what I did was, I have a shape, and I'll add the shape to one of the patterns, and I thought this was a pretty good shape, and you can make any shape nose you want. And I just did the applique where you cut your paper, you sew around the edge of this, and then you pull it together and then press and then pull your paper out. And that way it's not a raw edge. Now you can do the Lori Holt method. You can do a raw edge one. I tend to prefer on bed quilts, when I have a lot of work put into them, to put in a applique that does not have a raw edge, just because I know it's going to stay on and not pull off, and it won't start unraveling. Just because this quilt is going to have quite a bit of detail to it, and it does take a lot longer than dish towels or anything like that. So you can add your applique nose, and if you want to see how that's done, I show you in the Tilda, I believe it's the Santa Claus has the nose on him, and also the Mrs. Claus has a nose. And then also the winter bird stocking, there are berries on that one. And so I walk you through how to do the applique on those. I'm not going to walk you through on this one because you might not want a nose, and this video is already plenty long, I think. So you can do your nose and then stitch it on. And then, like I said, you can either do eyes with fabric and applique them on, or you can use buttons if you want. Now, if you do buttons, you don't put those on until after it's all quilted, because you don't want the long arm to run over a button and break the needle. So you can go ahead and put this on because it can be quilted over, but not the button eyes. So this is just one thing. You could have them all have different noses, and they could all have their noses going in different directions. Or again, you can leave it without a nose. Now on my blue ones, I want to keep it all blue. So I think I will go ahead and choose a blue color if I put the carrot nose on this one, since everything's going with blue and white. So I would put something that's more blue. And again, here's the orange. You could add an orange and it looks nice, but I just want to keep this all blue for myself. And so again, I will put a link to, I think the Winter Birds has a pretty good tutorial on how to do the round berries, and this is a bigger piece, so it's actually easier to do. And then you could do even the berry, you know, like the eyes would be similar to those berries. They're just circles. But I will put in, I'm not going to put the eyes because I think it all depends on what shape you want your eyes, but I'll put this shape right here for the nose because some of you may just feel uncomfortable making your own shape for a carrot nose. You know, I understand, but I'll put this shape in so that you can just cut it out and make a cardstock copy and put it together. So there we have our Snowman quilt block. It will be, if you put it into a quilt, it will be 22 inches square. I will decide what I'm going to be doing with this soon, and I won't be doing another video on piecing it together. I will have the quilt layout in the description box below as another free PDF, and I'll have the size that I have selected for borders if you're interested in these sizes. Again, it's all up to you. But this will be just a picture of it. I'm not going to do the cut sizes or anything, but this is just an option. I am still thinking of just doing something similar to this. I may have just 3 blocks like this, or I don't think I'll do 2. I think either 3 blocks like this, or I might do another snowflake and a snowman, but I'm going to end in snowman. And I will be sharing that with you during one of our Quilty chats when I show some of the things that I've finished. And I usually do that with the Fat Quarter Sew Sampler box that I get, and I usually have a little chat during that time and share what I've been working on. So if you want to see my progress and how I'm doing, I will be sharing it on that. And here I have moved our large block over to the design wall, and this is the whole block in the frame. Remember, it's 22.5-inch square right now, but once it's sewn in, it will be a 22-inch finished block. And I think it is just so pretty. I can't wait to make some more. And of course, my fabrics are all going to be in blue, but just different fabrics for the coat, the hat, the scarf, the snowflakes. Everything's going to be different. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please consider subscribing. I would really appreciate that. Also, don't forget to like and share, and as always, I hope you have a great week, and I hope to see you back here next time. Bye-bye.